Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Provo City School District's What's Up with the Soup podcast. I am Superintendent Wendy Dau, and this week is National School Counselor Appreciation Week. So for today's episode, I wanted to speak with one of our amazing school counselors. I am joined by Pahoran Marquez, the lead school counselor at Provo High School, and he's going to talk about the many roles a school counselor plays and how they help our students every day. You're going to love this analogy that he uses, that counselors are at the heart of the school. So pay attention to that because they do a lot more than we traditionally think of when we think of a school counselor. First, let me give you our updates. The district will be hosting 2 parent nights. The first meeting will be on February 11th at Centennial Middle School between 6 and 7:30 p.m. The second will be on March 5th at Shoreline Middle School between 6 and 7:30 p.m. At these events, parents can find support for topics related to mental health, substance abuse, suicide prevention, and internet safety, connect with resources for childcare, therapy, psychological assessment, food, housing, and other needs, and they can visit with other parents and community organizations such as the United Way, Empowered Parents, Wasatch Behavioral Health, Centro Hispano, Safe UT, Provo Fire, and more. The district will be hosting 2 information nights to discuss lease revenue bonds and the district's upcoming plans to use a lease revenue bond to finish construction at Timpview and begin the design phase for the Dixon site. The first meeting will be held on February 13th at 6 o'clock p.m. in the choir room at Timpview High School. The second meeting will be held on February 20th at 6 o'clock p.m. in the auditorium of the Old Dixon Middle School. Myself, Superintendent Dau, our business administrator, Devin Daly, and several school board members will be there to answer questions and to talk about the need for these lease revenue bonds and how we want to be accountable and transparent to our Provo community so that you know what impact this will have on your family. The next school board meeting will be on Tuesday, February 11th. The study session will take place in Boardroom 1, and the business meeting will be in the Professional Development Center. Public comment is welcome during the business meeting, and the business meeting begins at 7 o'clock p.m. Please check the district website for start times for the study session and for specific agenda items as the meeting gets closer. Continue watching for my weekly video casts in your email every Monday. These videocasts provide one place for you to learn about important things happening across the district. And please stay engaged with your Utah state legislators. Our Utah legislative session is ongoing. There are many bills that are tied to education. Stay up on these as they affect our families and our students, and make sure that your voices are heard by reaching out to your legislators. If you would like to contact legislators, we can direct you to those individuals, or you can also look at the Utah State Legislative website for information about your specific representation. And now let's talk with our guest about School Counselor Week and the roles that counselors play in the lives of our students. Welcome, everyone, to this week's podcast of What's Up with the Soup. I am here with Pahoran Marquez. He is our head counselor at Provo High School. Welcome to our podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Tell us a little bit about how long you've been at Provo High and how long you've been a counselor there.
Yeah, so this is my 5th year at Provo High School.
Okay.
I've been there since I graduated from my program. And so I graduated, I applied for the job, I got the job, and I've been there since then. So
that's awesome. Yeah. What made you want to be a counselor? Tell us a little bit about kind of that pathway, because it is Counselor Appreciation Week. So we want to yes. honor the great work that all of our counselors do. So tell us how you ended up in this great profession.
Yeah, for me, it's been a journey, right? I don't think I necessarily said since I was a little kid, I want to be a school counselor.
Right.
And that's it's something I share with my students too. When we talk about classes and what they want to do for life, things like that, I always tell them it's a journey. And for me, that was the case. I grew up in Mexico and I started doing my education there, but I did it through a pathway program, so online, things like that. Okay. And originally, I was majoring in healthcare administration. I thought I was going to do something kind of like finance in a hospital setting, you know. But at the time I was taking my psychology class, and I just fell in love with psychology and human behavior and understanding why we as humans do what we do. And so at some point I said, if I'm able to go to the U.S. and, you know, finish my education there, I want to change my major to psychology. And that happened. I was able to go to Rexburg in Idaho. I went to BYU, Idaho. I changed my major. And at the time, there were some concentrations, and one of them was health. So that's where the journey started. I did psychology. I loved psychology. But I didn't know that I needed to get a master's degree, right? In order to do some counseling, because at the time I was like, you know what, I would like to help people, right? And to counsel them or do some kind of therapy, things like that. So I did some career exploration. I evaluated my options. I also felt like I needed to combine things that I liked. I liked teaching. I love to be able to see in someone's expression happiness when they learn a new concept. And for me was, how can I combine education, teaching, and counseling? Is there something related to that? And so that's how I came across to the school counseling program, and I just liked it. And when I started my program, taking the classes and doing internship, I knew that I was doing the right thing for me in terms of my career.
Awesome.
So in school counseling, because it combines both teaching, having crucial conversations with students, but also in a different setting. In my office, I can have those conversations, but at the same time, I can go into the classroom and teach about a particular topic, right?
Yep.
College, career exploration, colleges, mental health too. And so I think I have the best of both worlds, teaching and counseling in one.
You can kind of work with students in a slightly larger group. I don't think many people realize that counselors actually go out into classrooms, that it's not just these one-on-one sessions, that you're doing a ton to support students outside of that. I don't think people realize that, right?
No. And in my experience, when I have asked people, hey, what was your experience with your counselor? They say, well, I just met with my counselor once or twice just to talk about a class, and that's it. They don't know what it takes to become a school counselor and the impact that we can have in the school, right?
That's
in the
so
classrooms,
true.
individually, in meetings with stakeholders, and community council, and 504 meetings, and IEP meetings, and how our role is to really advocate for a student in multiple ways and at different levels.
I love that. I feel like always the counselors were kind of like an extension almost of the administrative team, because you guys always inform our administrators on things that we don't know that will help us to help kids better. So it's so incredible the work that you do.
Yeah. The American School Counseling Association defines the school counselors as the heart of the school. Because of that same reason, we are able to connect to students at a different level, right?
Yeah.
Because we get to see them to choose classes, but we also create that connection with them and say, hey, Jimmy, how's your day been, right? And we have those conversations in a casual setting too. It just allows students to create that bond with us. That is what allows us to help them even more, right? When we need to advocate for the students in different capacities.
And it sounds like your journey has really helped you to be able to help students, because you're able to say to them, hey, what you're thinking you might want to do right now might not be what you end up doing. And so there are some ways in which you can actually kind of open up some of those opportunities in a better way in high school even.
Yeah, and I think when they hear that from an adult, I think it gives them a sense of relief almost. Right?
Yes.
Because they're like, you get me, you understand what I'm going through. I didn't know exactly what I want to do with my life, but hearing from you that you try a million things, right?
Right.
Gives me hope that, okay, I can do this too, right? And it's okay to explore different things and to go into different careers. And it's okay to change my mind at some point if I want a different major, because I want to feel good with the things that I'm doing, right? In my career. So
yeah, we're going to be spending a long time in these careers, right? And so we want it to be something that's really fulfilling.
Yeah.
Tell me what a typical day looks like for you, specifically at Provo High School.
Well, every day is similar, but completely different. In my case, meeting with students, right now we're in the CCR season, or College and Career Readiness. So tons of meetings with students and families to talk about their career goals and plans for the future, choose classes. But really, sometimes those are meetings. I need to meet with administration as a department chair to talk about how we can support students at a different level, right? They have specific questions, and sometimes they ask for input from counselors in how they can do certain activities at the school level that have a bigger impact on students. I also have a meeting with our special education coordinator where we talk about how we can support our students with an IEP, right? And we have to make decisions also for referrals, right? Where there are some concerns that we get from teachers and families even. So advocacy in that regard too.
You're like the hub of
Yes.
everything. So like that heart of the school, I'm seeing that as
Yeah.
you're just describing your day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that day also could include a presentation. Today, especially, we had our Youth Higher Education Day.
Yes.
So we also have counselors in the hallways walking around, visiting classrooms, seeing firsthand what students are learning from our presenters, coordinated with our College and Career Readiness Center as well at FAFSA nights. And we also we get to organize other meetings for our incoming freshmen, like Dixon Day, in the past Dixon Day, now Shoreline
No,
Day.
Shoreline, I know. It's okay.
Yes,
It's okay.
we're
We still call it
adjusting to the
Dixon. It's
name.
all right.
But as you can see, like a lot of activities, a lot of things are happening, and counselors are involved in every single one of them. Sometimes my day could be meeting with a student and to say, hey, let's work on putting a folder together with all of your assignments so you make sure that you turn them in and you don't lose points. And sometimes my day also includes responding to crisis event
That's
right?
right.
When a student is having a bad day, or a lot of things are going on at the same time, we respond to those crises too. And then we collaborate with our social workers too to say, hey, this student needs extra support. Let's meet together and discuss how we can help the student better. So that's my everyday. It's
great.
similar in nature, but at the same time, completely different. And you don't know, it's kind of like a box of chocolate. You don't know what you're going to get.
It's always going to be good, though.
Exactly.
It's
but
always good.
It's always good, but you don't know what's going to happen.
I think one of the things that I've had to explain to people is they try to ask, why do you need both counselors and social workers? And I try to explain to them the roles that each one plays. Talk a little bit about that and the collaboration and how that's helpful in a school to have these different layers of support for students, because sometimes people don't understand that they're different roles, but we're all working towards the same thing.
Yes. For school counselors, every grade level, we have a different emphasis, right? We do the same things, but in a different way, and the emphasis is different. A lot of the times, elementary, middle school is more for that social-emotional development because of the nature of the age group. High school, because we are helping them to move on to the next chapter in life, which is either college, vocational, or career, right? We do a little bit more of the college readiness, right?
That's right.
However, we also help with mental health. The difference between social workers and school counselors is, the way I see it is, school counselors are kind of like the front desk, right? We always know where to refer students
That's right.
when they have questions in terms of classes or additional support or ACT testing or additional support in mental health, right? So our social workers will normally do the long-term mental health support. Counselors will do short-term counseling, right?
Right.
And this is where the collaboration part comes into play, right? Either with our school psychologists, social workers, special education, but we are at the center. We are the first one to respond to the needs of our students, emotionally, academically, developmentally, psychologically, physically, everything. Like, this is why, again, the school counselors are the heart of the school, because we normally know a lot of things, right?
Yes,
like where
you do.
to refer to student when they need extra support after school program, right? Or who their assigned administrator is, or what a specific policy on something is. Again, we're at the center of what is happening in the school. And so I would say academics, social emotional development, mental health, obviously, and really advocacy and collaborating with other people.
Yeah, you're always keeping the student at the center of what you do and figuring out all of the different components that student needs to be successful in school, because it's not just the academic skills. They need all of the other pieces as well.
Yeah, and really
to
just
thrive.
To provide a safe space for our students,
Yeah.
right? I always tell, you know what, sometimes we have amazing days and we want to share the good news with someone. I'm here for you as your counselor. I want to hear all of those things. I want to be part of your life in that regard, right?
Right.
And sometimes sometimes we have not super great days and we still need
true.
someone we can say, hey, can you listen for a minute? I'm just not having a good day because of, I don't know, friendships or relationships or uncertainty or whatever is in their minds.
Right.
The important thing for me as their counselor is to make sure they know they have someone in the building they can go to and talk to in a safe space, right? They can speak freely. I always tell them, if you want to come and tell me about your crush, You can come and tell me. If you can tell me about prom or whatever, I'm here for you. That's the most important thing. They know they have someone in the building who can listen to them.
That's really key to helping kids feel connected to school. They need to have at least one adult they can go to that they see as their ally, right? So that becomes really important. What's the best part about your job? What's your favoriteest part?
I'm going to say having those conversations with my students, because I get to see how they have changed with time.
Oh, yeah.
When I see them as freshmen the first year, and
That's so different.
Exactly, to 4 years later when they're ready for graduation, and I get to have those conversations and say, hey, tell me about your experience when I cleared them before graduation, right? What did you learn? What is something that you will always take forever with you now that you are moving on to the next chapter in life? Right? What is something that you appreciated, that from the school, right? Something that we can improve even, right? To help the next generation, and in general, just to see them grow and change, to see how they have become a different person, the things they have learned with time, their own experiences, to me is the most rewarding thing. When I see them succeed, not only in academics, which is what we do as a school, right? But just in life, just to say, hey, I learned this. I now know how to have a crucial conversation with another person, right? Conflict resolution. I know how to need to be intentional when making decisions in terms of my schooling, in terms of life and things like that. So for me, those crucial conversations are the most important part of my job, and the ones that I really enjoy the most.
And they're the most important for our students too, like to be able to navigate all of the different things that are on their plates, especially in high school.
Sometimes we say a lot of things, right? Between academics and some of the things. And I've had amazing experiences when a student, after 4 years, they come back and say, hey, do you remember when you told me this? And sometimes I don't even remember.
You don't remember.
Wait, what did I say? And they're like, you said this, and this. And that is what make a huge change in how I was looking at, at something. And because of that, now I want to do this. Or now I feel like I can be successful. I can do all those things. And so it's incredible the impact we can have on people, even with small and simple things sometimes that we say or sometimes that we do, to show them that we care, that we are there for them, that we see them. That's something very powerful to me.
I think it is too. I think that our students do want to be seen. And sometimes they don't always know how to ask for help. And just, your job is also to kind of identify what they need help with, even before they might know what they need help with, and helping them get there. I feel like it's just you're just such an incredible resource and support in our schools. You're so important. Tell me, if you had to give a piece of advice to parents, what would be a piece of advice you would give them about helping their child be successful, or about interacting with your counseling team and what that looks like?
I would say the same thing I tell my students: be intentional. I think that applies to everybody, right? Be intentional in scheduling appointments with your counselor. We're there for you. We want you to say, hey, can you have a minute, right? Can I talk to you for a minute? And come ask us questions, right? Hey, what's the difference between AP and concurrent enrollment? Hey, I noticed that my kid, is struggling with school. Is there a resource that we can use that we can help and support our student? I think that's what makes a huge difference. And something I've noticed in my short experience as a counselor is that when students see that level of intentionality and involvement from their parents, something changes.
It does.
Their attitude about school, how their approach to life is just different. They see their parents taking the initiative to ask, hey, how is your day at school?
Right.
What do you learn? What can you tell me about this? Oh, that is so cool that you got to pick these classes. That's what, for me, I'm going to speak for myself. I always invite my parents to their CCRs, right?
Yep.
Since they're ninth graders, and sometimes juniors don't feel like they need the parents in that meeting. Because
you do need your parents in that meeting.
Yes. And there's something special when the parents come and they're part of
is.
those decisions, and they help their own kids to choose their classes and to think about the multiple options and resources they have, once they graduate from high school. I see a change in the students, their faces. They're also happy and smiling. They always look at the parents like, what do you think about this class? I'm like, well, yes, no, those kind of things. So it's powerful when we have parents in our meetings. So I would say be intentional, be involved, ask about resources of the school, We have a ton of resources at our high school. Our administration team works really hard to make sure that all of those resources are available to all of our families in the school, right? And so I think that would be my advice. Just be intentional, be involved, and ask questions.
Yeah, oh, I love that. I know when I was working at a high school, we're always sharing information with students. And we're like, how come parents aren't finding out about this? And when we were intentional about bringing the parents on board, we had so many more students taking advantage of those opportunities because now you had parents collaborating with our counselors and really helping and directing students to make really good choices for themselves. And they're like, why wouldn't you do this? This is such an incredible opportunity. And then all of a sudden the student's like, okay, I guess that sounds great. I guess I will do this, right? That partnership becomes really important and powerful. What is one of the greatest challenges in your job as a high school counselor? Or maybe even something that you wish people would know about being a counselor? Anything you want to share?
I don't think people really understand what school counselors do, right? And it starts with, even with the title, right? Sometimes people say guidance counselor. That is the old title right now, school counselor, especially because of the many things that counselors do in the schools, right?
You wear like 50 million hats.
Exactly, right, exactly. Well, compared to when guidance is just limiting, right? We guide students to,
in their career. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's not what it's like anymore.
So I would say that would be the biggest one. Like not knowing exactly what we do other than just making class changes for students, right?
That is what most people think you do.
Exactly.
We have to turn that around for sure.
A lot of the times people don't know we need to get a master's degree in school counseling, right? Because we need to be able to respond to the many situations that we will face in the school, right? And that our students need help with. Also, the lack of involvement, intentionality. We sometimes explain it like, do you know that you can do this? Concurrent enrollment, AP classes, MTech, and it seems like there's not a lot of interest sometimes about those things, right?
I think you're right. Like when we just met with the Student Advisory Council with students from both high schools, and when you look at the students and that are involved in that and how many AP and concurrent, or they're involved in MTech or those pieces, like they really feel like there's this incredible purpose to their education. It makes all the difference when they're recognizing that intentionality becomes really important as they're planning their futures. That's a big deal. That's something I could do better too as a superintendent to help parents know better about how to access those kinds of things and be part of that.
It would be beneficial to hear also from those parents, right? I just remember we host a parent night completely in Spanish. We have tried multiple times, evening, late nights, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, multiple things.
You have to be creative.
And still we haven't been able to have all the people that we would love to have, right?
Right.
And that a challenge for us, right? Is like, how can we help all these families know that we have all these resources? What can we do to support them better, right? So if we hear from them, that would be awesome, right? If they can tell us, hey, you know what? Can we do this meeting instead of a Monday on a Thursday night, or
right.
I think hearing from them is crucial for us in order to know how to support them better and for them to really feel like, the school is really trying to, help me. And
that's right.
I love this, so I'm going to do this. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you're not rambling. It absolutely makes sense. And it's always a challenge to figure out how to reach all of our parents and help them understand we're here to help their children. Like we're in this together.
Yes.
Like we really want to partner with them and be supportive and help their children be successful. As you have watched kids and their successes, what do you see are the common characteristics of the students that seem to be the happiest, the most successful? Are you noticing any of those common characteristics? And could that be used as maybe some advice for maybe some of our incoming freshmen that are starting to pick their classes for Provo High School next year?
I've told this to my students. It's not about who's the smartest in the room if you want to get a better grade. To me, it's about the journey, right? It is true that some things might come easy to some of us, right? Maybe some math, maybe some English, maybe some science. But to me, and I explain this to them, it's about the journey. And the journey is, what are you going to choose to do every day? Those little things that will lead to a particular outcome. In this case, having straight A's, right? If that's a goal. I tell them, you need to show up to school, show up on time, be engaged, ask questions. And it's okay if you don't know everything. That's okay.
Right.
This is
It
why
is.
you can ask questions.
That's why you're
right?
at school.
Exactly. And if that's the case, we have additional supports to help you. But you need to be aware of the power that you have to choose. And
I love
you
that.
are able to choose what your outcome will be. Just work on those little things and you will be fine. That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
If you struggle with something, this is why we have counselors, social workers, the admin team, your teachers, your family, a million people in the school. But you are the one who need to make the choice of being successful. Now, if you don't know how to, don't worry. This is why we have
That's right.
counselors,
That's
social
right.
workers, admin, and we're here to help you, right? So I
That's
would
right.
just say for our incoming freshmen, just keep that in mind. Just be intentional when we meet with you to choose your class for high school, right? Be intentional, have those conversations with your parents, and make the decision to work on the little things that will lead to a great outcome.
I think that's such great advice because I think it can be really overwhelming, especially for a freshman that comes in and is like,
Yes.
I have to do all of these classes and get all of these credits, and people are talking about scholarships in college. But if it's just like, what am I doing today
Yes.
to open up the opportunities
Yes.
for tomorrow? What one thing am I? Oh, I'm choosing to go to all of my classes and put forth my best effort. I'm going to choose to ask a question and be vulnerable
Yes.
and realize it's okay if I don't know something, and just being intentional about that, because education is not something that's done to you.
Yeah.
It's something that they are empowered. They at least I would hope our students feel empowered to be able to utilize this opportunity to do some great things. I'm so grateful our kids have you at Provo High
thank you.
School. They are so lucky. I hope they see that, and just your passion and your
Thank you.
energy and desire to help students. Please
Well,
share
and I was
whatever
gonna
else.
say, it's just not me. I've had the opportunity to spend some time at Timpview High School, our
Oh,
sister
excellent.
school.
Good.
And something that the lead counselor at Timpview and I were trying to do is to collaborate even more among
love
high
it.
schools, right? And so I spent the day at Timpview, he spent the day at Provo High School, and we were learning from each other. And
I
so,
had no idea this was even happening. This is amazing.
Yes.
I love it.
And so for us, it's just this idea of let's keep growing, right? Because there are
Yes.
some things that I can learn from you. You can probably learn from me. I
Yes.
don't know. And I can tell that all of my colleagues, because I've seen them, right, how they interact with their students when we also go to Shoreline for the middle school, how they really care about their students. We're very lucky at Provo High School that we have great people, great counselors who are very intentional, who try to help their students in many ways. And something important is also that we utilize our own talents to do that job.
Yes.
Like one of my colleagues, Guy Golightly, he plays the guitar. And students love him, right? And I can hear sometimes the conversations he has with his students about, hey, no, you need to do this with the guitar. And they come and seek advice from him. And that also creates a bond between those students
right.
and their counselors, because we're very unique. We have a lot of the same interest, and even something as simple as that can create an impactful connection with the
Yes.
student, because that student will say, hey, do you really like those? I do too,
That's right.
And so that is another way where all of the counselors in our district are trying to be intentional in what they do for our students. And so I just wanted to say, since we're celebrating National School Counseling Week, congratulations to all of our counselors
they're
for
amazing.
everything they're doing. You're rock stars. And I just wanted to give them a shout out.
Well,
to all of them.
we should give them a shout out. It's hard work that you guys are involved with, and you really all are the heart of our schools. So thank you for all
you.
that you do. Appreciate you being with us today. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for this week's episode of What's Up with the Soup. As always, all episodes will be posted on the district website, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts. If you have any topics or questions you would like us to discuss on the podcast, please email us at podcast@provo.edu. And don't forget to join us again next week for another new episode of What's Up with the Soup. Have a great weekend.